Now, there's many ways this is dumb, as he talks about moving on from laissez-faire, Milton Friedman type economics, and instead moving more to a Hamiltonian economic structure where this is a unique thing that Republicans are going to start trying. We'll see if it works. He thinks that the government should start managing the economy and trying to pick winners and losers in order to do what they think would be like best for the American people.
He absolutely wanted to like seize the equity of the AI companies. And,
you're not supposed to say
right.
that.
And it's like, guys, he's the president and he sets the agenda and he just said it. And by the way, nobody really even protested.
Yeah.
So like, the president has already, and obviously I'm biased, I'm his vice president, but the president has already like completely reoriented the conversation towards what you might call an American developmentalist approach. Like American economic policy on the right is now much more Alexander Hamilton than it is Milton Friedman.
Yeah.
I think that's obviously a good thing. You might disagree, but that's just a normative statement.
Notice, though, what you've just said, because for the people who say that betraying some nostalgic retconning of a caricature of the 1980s, that to change that in any way would be abandoning American history and the tradition. You say, well, hold on, I just went from Milton Friedman to Hamilton, and to some degree George Washington.
Right, 200 years backwards in history, actually. That's very much a foundation of American developmental economics and economic policy.
Bullshit.
Why do you say that?
Like, we went back to Hamilton. That's just ridiculous.
Hamilton was big on protectionists, like tariff policies and stuff like that. It's big on that big
Hamilton
national
was for
bank.
taking the equity of companies.
Well, no, probably not at first.
Like we're joking about just taking the equity of AI companies.
Well, this is a 21st century approach. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just, they didn't get to that part yet. Is the issue.
Well, the other thing is that really their policies are instituting a more socialist style or increasingly fascist style of economics.
Yeah.
Which is not free market.
Definitely not free market.
It's not what made America great.
It's definitely not what made America great. And they're leaning heavier into this. And that's another thing different with like, if he's moving the Hamiltonian, like, does that mean we're going to get rid of like all the welfare stuff? I don't know how big Hamilton was on welfare and all that. Like, he was big on like protectionist trade policies. Obviously, he wanted the central bank and all of that. So he wanted the bigger government approach, the more centralized government approach. In a way, like, obviously we were joking around. I was being facetious at the beginning. This is really just more of an admission of what we're already doing. Like, oh, we're going to move away. It's going to be way less Milton Friedman and more Hamilton. I'm like, when was it Milton Friedman, really? The most Milton Friedman that ever was, technically, was during Reagan's administration in the words that Reagan said. That was it. Like, the rhetoric around it. But it's like laissez-faire approach, this free market approach. I mean, it's been over 100 years since they were pushing towards that. But just because they deregulate something every once in a while, means that they're all pro free market all the time. Like, no, we have what we have right now and the things that people are upset about because we've already been doing this. Very Hamiltonian. Like, we talk about inflation and the debt and all that. Central banks got a hell of a lot to do with that whole thing. This is not some new thing that we're moving towards. It might be, maybe it's a good thing he's saying it out loud. Like, let's stop lying about it. It's kind of sad to me to hear that. It's sad to me because there is a big contingent of people, like on the right. There's a lot of people like Republicans and right-leaning people. We're libertarians, and that's a much smaller amount of people. And you got this other group of people who is a much larger group of people who do have political control, do win elections, and throughout my early years talked a lot about the founding fathers and the free market and stuff like that. And it gets very, very upsetting to me to see them just decide to not go towards that at all, when like there's enough of them that if they decided that that was important to them, they could do it if they wanted to do that. There's enough of them, and they're just giving up on it. And I've seen a lot of
Republicans have done this multiple times when they've had control of Congress,
yeah,
and the presidency.
Yeah.
And they still, I remember during Trump's first term, from 2016 to 2018, they were going to repeal and replace Obamacare.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we'll just repeal it.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Republicans voted many times to repeal Obamacare
before Trump got into office.
And then once they had a president that could actually sign the legislation and enough people in the House and the Senate to get the legislation through, they just,
can't do anything.
Can't find a way to replace it. No. So we're not going to repeal this thing.
It was fun to talk about, though. It was really fun to talk about.
Just a bunch of liars.
All right, we got some more on this clip here. Let's see if we can get some more stuff.
And look at Michael Knowles, just,
oh, he's happy about
suckling the teat.
Yeah.
JD Vance.
I don't want to say you can go back to the future or, forward to the past, but I do think fundamentally that Hamiltonian tradition is going to be what we see on the American right and will dominate American conservative economic thinking for the future.
Yeah.
Which is not laissez-faire. It's actually much more about, building the kind of tools, building the kind of infrastructure that allow human beings to flourish, that allow national and native industries to flourish at the expense of a hyper-globalized economy.
I want to point out what he just said right here, and it's so important. It's not laissez-faire. It's not free market capitalism. It's about building a system that allows human beings to flourish. Like, that's our vice president right there.
Centrally planned flourishing.
It's about moving away from this free market and instead doing more of centrally planned economy. That way human beings can flourish. And that's what's coming from our Republican vice president right now. That's where we are. In a way, I respect it because they're saying it out loud. Not going to lie about it anymore. And I guess, it's good to know where everyone stands on the issue. But I find it very disheartening. It's on America's 250th birthday. Are you kidding me? Here's a little bit more.
And I think those are the basic principles that are going to carry us into the future. But to me, it's fundamentally about the dignity of the human person. The economy is a tool.
That's what, so fundamentally allowing the government to control more stuff. It's just about human dignity.
Yeah.
It sounds like freaking like Bernie Sanders or AOC talking right now.
Just a different way of putting it.
To service the dignity of the human person. If a set of economic policies make it easier for a person to raise a family, to earn a living wage, to give back to their community, to maybe go to church on Sunday, or to actually spend some leisure time building the kind of life that matters, like that is the sort of thing that we want to be supportive of. Now, obviously, to do those things, you do need economic development. Yeah. But if you turn economic development into a sort of idol, then you end up sacrificing a lot of the things that matter most. And I do think that, for our friends who are sort of on the more laissez-faire side of the American right, in hindsight, part of why Milton Friedman's ideas made more sense in the 1980s is because they were being advocated in a country that still had a very rich and powerful institutional Christianity. And so, like, being laissez-faire in a world where there are Christian guardrails on everything is a much different proposition than being laissez-faire in a world where globalized liberalism has become the sort of status quo of American elites.
Yeah, I know how we fight socialism and central planning with socialism and central planning.
That's how you fix it.
And fight fire with fire, man.
That is how. That's how. So the last part, that really burns me up because
just burns them biscuits.
Just burns my biscuits, man. He switches into, Milton Friedman's policies made a lot more sense back when we had a lot more Christians. You had a lot more good people back then. But now, since the people suck, like, you can't really allow the people to have freedom or allow to have a free market and voluntary exchange. Now the government needs to come in and control these market decisions. Like that, it's a great idea. It's just the people just aren't good enough anymore for that kind of thing. There's one really big issue with that, which is like, who the hell picks who's running the government?
That gets the control.
You idiot. Yeah. What are you talking about? We have a government elected by people. You're saying the people just aren't Christian enough to make their own decisions in their own lives for their own businesses and who they want to buy and sell with, but they can pick the government, and then the government can pick those people for all of us? How does that make any sense at all?
It just reminds me of that great Milton Friedman clip on the Donahue show where he said, and just where are you going to find these angels to organize society for us?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to find these amazing central planners? And Friedman's point with that was, we're all human beings, like innate with mistakes. And it's impossible in our limited sort of focus to blanket fix of an extremely complicated system that is impossible, because there's trillions of decisions being made that is impossible to track and make the best decision. Like, we do it naturally through the free market and prices. It also reminds me of Jordan Peterson talking about this. Like, I have this thing and I've packed all of my damn oppression into this thing that I'm offering you.
Yeah.
And you, if you want this thing, have packed all of your damn oppression into the price you're willing to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And we exchange those things with each other freely. And it's the best system.
Here's the last minute of the Friedman clip you're talking about. I did have it pulled up just in case it got brought up in this scenario.
Amen.
Here we go.
Exactly, and the kinds of societies that depart from that. So that the record of history is absolutely crystal clear that there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of the ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by a free enterprise system.
But it seems to reward not virtue as much as ability to manipulate the system.
And what does reward virtue? You think
as much as ability to manipulate the system.
And what does reward virtue? You think a communist commissar rewards virtue? You think a Hitler rewards virtue? You think, excuse me, if you'll pardon me, do you think American presidents reward virtue? Do they choose their appointees on the basis of the virtue of the people appointed or on the basis of their political clout? Is it really true that political self-interest is nobler somehow than economic self-interest? I think you're taking a lot of things for granted. And just tell me where in the world you find these angels who are going to organize society for us. Well, I don't even trust you to do that.
I love the little jokes.
Yeah.
I don't even trust you to do that.
So, yeah, that's number one.
I think what Milton Friedman is saying there is really important. It's not just, you have to look at, and by the way, a lot of what Milton Friedman's thinking was based on Adam Smith and a lot of hundreds, if not thousands of years of analyzing economic landscapes throughout history. And what we found when practicing laissez-faire or free market voluntary exchange in the Americas is we saw the greatest growth, not only for America, but for the world, for humanity as a whole. And that's why he keeps going back to the only, throughout all of history, through all of recorded history, the only systems that raise the lot of the ordinary person is that of free market and free trade. Mm-hmm. It's the only thing that works.
Yep. And what people, sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, that was basically it. That's
what people point to. He brings up the globalism, and what people really don't like is, our jobs are going overseas, and we got these global multinational corporations, and my response to that's the same as been when we were talking about tariffs all the time. America needs to be the most business-friendly place in the entire world. and the businesses will stay here and operate here. We haven't remained competitive. Like, this is the best place. I've been, not to all the countries, I've been to 15 of them. This is the best one so far. And the companies know that too. And
by the way, the world knows that now.
The world knows it.
Coming from the World Cup.
Yeah, they do.
A lot of visitors from a lot of countries that are really impressed with America.
The companies would love to stay here and operate here. We, over time, through not laissez-faire, not free market approaches, have made it more difficult for the companies to stay here and have actually made it to where somehow they can move to the other side of the world and ship stuff back over here, because we buy a quarter of the world's stuff. Like, we're like a quarter of the consumption in the whole world. It's still cheaper for them to move to the other side of the world and put all this stuff on a boat and send it back over here to us, and they can still make a few more pennies profit on it. Like, that's pretty bad. We need to make it more friendly here. It has gotten less and less friendly, and it's not because we listened to Milton Friedman for too long at all. It's not because we need to move more towards Alexander Hamilton's policies. And that's the problem. But the government has pushed our economy in this direction with all of its actions that it's been taking for well over 100 years now. But to act like, oh, now to have it from the right also, oh, well, the problem that we're really seeing is the free market and globalism and free trade, and that's what's happened here. That is a great conclusion for the government to come to, isn't it? It's a very convenient conclusion.
And here, like, you have to hear what he's saying, like these things that sound good. It's like literally taking talking points from the left. He literally said, JD Vance literally said in this clip that we have to get people to make a living wage.
Yeah.
Well, what is a living wage, JD Vance? What is that?
Yeah.
Define it.
It's different all over the place. It's one of the big problems. How about stop inflating the way the currency?
One of my buddies,
a good way to start.
One of my buddies says you always got to have a little bit of folding money in your pocket.
Got to have folding money.
Is that what he means by living wage?
Possibly.
As long as, hey, your bills are paid, got enough food on the table, and you can walk around with a little bit of folding money in your pocket. Like, that's our living wage, man.
Number 2 really should have been part of number 1, because in this point, JD Vance and the Democratic Socialists of America are aligned, and I should have kept them as the same dumb. So I'm sorry that this is a separate dumb.
You can vote for them together.
Yeah, you can vote for them as a block, I guess. They can form a union together and have a living wage and both receive the vote at the same time. Number 2 is
we could share votes.
DSA's post. Capitalists have plenty to say about what they think socialism will look like, but what have they given us? War, no health care, crushing debt, homelessness, a federal minimum wage of $7.25. They've left us out to dry. Socialism is the only answer for the better world we deserve. 2 things in this. Number 1, we have plenty to say about what socialism has looked like when it has been attempted to be implemented over time. It's not like a guess about whether or not it would go very well. It's like pretty bad every time it happens. It's very bad every time it happens, actually. So we know
it might be good for a couple of years.
Yeah. Then it's great for the people that stay at the top in the government, too. Yeah. So you got to get yourself one of them good government positions. So that's one. And then they say, what have the capitalists given us? War, no health care, crushing debt, homelessness, federal minimum wage of $7.25.
None of that is capitalist.
Yeah, that's a U.S. It's difficult, but those are 2 different things. The U.S. government is, in fact, not capitalism. It's a government. It literally controls things. It is a monopoly on force. It's like a political organization for the people to exercise their will. And capitalism is just like private property rights, voluntary exchange, private ownership of the means of production. That's it. The U.S. government has done a lot of war. They, I guess, no health care. I don't know what they mean by no health care, but there is quite a lot of health care in the United States of America. I guess if you don't give it to people for free, then it doesn't exist in the mind of a democratic socialist. Like, if you have to pay for it, then it might as well not exist. So that's what that means.
I mean, I could go get healthcare right now.
Yeah, you could.
They're not going to charge me up front.
You could go healthcare anywhere you want right now.
Yeah.
You really can.
They just built one of those new freestanding EDs right here in Nolensville.
Did they?
Yeah.
I bet they spent like 3 years trying to get approval for that thing.
Probably. But
number 3, moving on to another socialist. Honestly, these all could have been together. Who decided to put these separately? Jeez. This just doesn't make any sense that these are.
Well, this is even vote for your favorite socialism.
Yeah. Who's your favorite socialist this week? Let's see what AOC had to say. I'm sure it's very brilliant.
We don't, quote unquote, have the money for a better and improved social safety net because we let assholes like...
Okay, just first off, I just got to say, she puts like, we don't, quote unquote, have the money for that. She's in the government and it's already spends $2 trillion more every year than it takes in and is 39, almost $40 trillion in debt. And to be like, oh, we don't have the money to do this. I'm like, you literally, it's not quote unquote have the money. You got negative money every year. She's about to talk about Elon Musk, who if you liquidated his entire net wealth would only take care of half the deficit for 1 year. And then that's it.
Yeah. You got to have a boogeyman.
You got to have the person. It's like they're all the last 3 things that we talked about have all been the same thing, really. But this is like a way more low IQ version of it, where you just look at this fake like value that's been written on a piece of paper that they say someone has, and like now the fact that people wrote that down on a piece of paper means that was stolen.
Villain.
And there's your villain.
Elon Musk gut Medicaid and gut Social Security in order for him to pay for his own tax cuts and B, his own $1 billion in private federal contracts. This guy takes billions and billions of your tax dollars, of your public funds. They are...
Yeah, just straight into his pocket, by the way.
Yeah. Now, it's helped. It has helped his companies like SpaceX quite a lot. I would say the government wanting to go to space. You know, I am totally fine if the U.S. government wants to stop having anything to do with space ever again. That's fine. I think that's good. That gives me more of an incentive, honestly, to like want us to go to Mars or to the moon or something like that. But they can't. Like the government's got to be involved in it because they're going to want to stake their claim to it when we make it to wherever it is. They're going to claim ownership of it immediately. They're going to want that. And they want to have space so, you know, they can point cameras at your house, you know, stuff like that.
They need them spy satellites.
They got to have their spy satellites. And so they can watch other countries too. But her making this argument like that he's taking billions and billions of your tax dollars should always, always be put up against the argument that it's about 1/10 of what we would have paid NASA itself to do it when NASA was doing it. And so it's like, okay, this is what's going to Elon Musk. He's the boogeyman. So we should go back to 10 times more of your tax dollars to do the same things.
Just with NASA.
And that way it's not going to Elon Musk. And by the way, with NASA, it's actually going to Boeing and Northrop and all these other companies Lockheed Martin. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's way better because you guys don't know the names of the people who run those companies. Yeah. So they're not boogeymen.
By the way, it's not going to Elon Musk either. It's going to SpaceX.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like 20,000 people that work for SpaceX.
Sounds about right.
Something like
probably,
that, 18 to 20,000 people.
Probably.
They're not just being given money. It's for a service like that. By the way, lots of people provide services to the federal government for federal contracts.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of money out there the federal government's giving away. So lots of grant money, lots of contract money. It exists. The federal government uses business partners to help do whatever it is that Congress approved.
It's crazy to watch. Like, okay, then look at Tesla. I mean, sure, Tesla got some carbon credits and stuff like that. I think Tesla got a loan also, which they paid off early, which they're probably upset about, you know, make less money on the interest when they paid off early. But, and so they did get those things. It's just crazy because those were all like lefty goals for environmental ideas and all that. You know, we got to have these EVs and battery powered everything. And so they do these carbon credits and all that kind of stuff, or they give a loan to an EV company. And now they have like the 1% less than that of like government handouts or subsidies that actually worked and created a super successful company that doesn't need your money anymore. And they're like mad about it. They'd rather just all the companies fail so we can't talk about it anymore. I'm like, wasn't that like the whole purpose of you guys trying to help out the business, is that it is super successful and sell a ton of EVs and, you know, cleaner energy and all that kind of stuff? Like, no, we'd rather they just would have failed. That way we don't talk about how big the companies are. You know, that seems to be their actual goal. I don't know. There's 9 seconds left on this. Let's make sure she might say something smart at the end of it. We have no idea.
Robbing us of the tiny slivers of what we have left in our collective public social safety net.
Okay, nope. No, it wasn't.
Nothing smart.
It wasn't smart. Okay. Thank you, AOC. Coupled with AOC, I have this page called Evan Loves Wharf. It's a big page. It's got a ton of viral posts going out. Almost all of them retarded. And this was something we talked about earlier, but in the week. But Jeff Bezos's ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott, spent $26 billion, or gave $26 billion to charity. I looked through a bunch of it. It's a bunch of climate nonsense and like women's empowerment in the Congo or something like that. That's basically it. Nothing else, literally. Yeah. And so people were talking about how worthless all the money that she gave away was. And Elon Musk chimed in. I was like, yeah, she just wasted all that money, basically. This guy said, it's not just that he has literally, this is to Elon Musk, it's not just that he has literally never given to charity. He straight up hates people who do. This is exactly why he ended programs to feed the hungry and give health care to the sick. First off, that's not a charity. That's money stolen from people. It's not voluntary at all. That's not charity. Okay? I'll go to prison if I don't help feed the hungry through the government, just so you know. It's not what that is. And they do a terrible job, and the problem's never solved at all after trillions of dollars spent on poverty. It's like, yeah, we still got poverty. Cool. Everyone's cool with that. Yeah.
Trillions spent on healthcare.
And it just keeps getting more expensive the more and more government spends on it. How about that? He's literally never given the charity. And this was sort of what I was trying to get to on Monday. They don't understand that through creating these products and services that people need, you're helping way more people than you could have ever imagined. Like some of the big companies, like, sorry, maybe some people won't like this, Walmart and Amazon have done more to help people than like most charities that are out there. And they've turned a profit while doing that. That's why I don't think people should do, I'm going to start a nonprofit. I'm like, oh, cool. So you don't want to be very good at what you're doing? No, I want go to a for-profit, you know, because I want them to do a better job at whatever thing they're trying to solve, you know? That's what I'd rather see.
Solve really difficult problems and just eke out.
Yeah, just take a little bit of profit off the top. That way you're incentivized to go out and do a better job at the problem that you're trying to solve. You know, not just keep your nonprofit money flowing every year. No, I want you to get that profit.
Yeah, it's like what crime does Walmart commit? Oh, they offer the cheapest groceries to feed poor people.
Yeah,
ever.
Cheap groceries and cheap products, and Amazon, same thing. By the way, you've got hundreds of thousands of other smaller businesses that are selling through both of those companies' websites. You know, people selling whatever random product they're making. And so that's been very good for a lot of people. And they don't look at anything like that as like helping people at all. It suddenly becomes like a right. And they also don't look at stuff like, it's so weird, the Starlink thing. You know, Starlink, if you go like lefties, they care a whole lot about Ukraine beating Russia, not in the World Cup, but like in the war that's going on. It'd be crazy if they played though, right?
That'd be weird.
Be sort of weird.
I don't think they're in it.
No.
You have to qualify for the World Cup.
Qualify. Dang it. it was pretty important for them to have Starlink. It actually is still important for them to have Starlink. And, the whole country might just be Russia right now if it weren't for the communication they were able to have. In fact, it's helping Venezuela right now as they go through their crazy earthquake that they had. My God, it's like confirmed over 2,000 dead right now, with still 38,000 people missing right now in Venezuela after a week has gone by. And guess what? They're using Starlink right now for their communications, for emergency responders and all that. That's pretty cool. You've seen it all over the world when things that you see it all over the U.S. They ship Starlink terminals to areas so they can have communications. And none of that ever gets counted at all as like charity. It's like, well, because you built this thing and it's all up there in space, it just becomes a right for everyone. And if you just give everyone use of this thing that your company created, that never goes down as you helping people because they all had a right to it immediately because it exists anyway.
Well, no one can be a trillionaire and help people.
Yeah, it's not possible. I'll skip over that one so we can make fun of Europe. So I guess I can go to, they've had this bad heat wave in Europe. All right, we know about that. A bunch of people died so far in this thing. That's sad. I don't like it when people die.
Not good.
Okay. DC Drano posted this thing about Europe starting to ban AC. This page, French response, it's a government account, okay, says, we're not banning AC. We're making sure future summers need it less. So, no, it's not about banning AC.
If a few people die while we're working on the fact that we're trying to make sure summers need less AC.
Yeah.
I wonder if they got AC in the government buildings.
I bet they do. I bet they've got some AC in the government buildings for sure. And then apparently Paris's deputy mayor says the U.S. bears a significant amount of responsibility for the deadly heat wave gripping France. This is actually our fault.
Nah, fine. Give us a red card.
Yeah. This person says, finally, someone said it. Because of American overconsumption, their CO2 emissions are crazy high and Europeans suffer. America must pay a mandatory tax to the EU to offset this.
That'll fix it.
That'll do. If you give the government money, how could that not fix the problem?
That'll fix it.
There's no way that wouldn't fix the problem. Yeah. So you've got to go through such a long chain of events right here that... One, for sure, the CO2 in the atmosphere is causing temperatures to go up. And not just that, it caused this specific heat wave that's happening right now. It caused that to happen.
Yeah.
And
because we control the Saharan desert.
Yeah. Yeah, that is I tried to look up a little bit more on that. I ran out of time. The community note says heat wave caused by Omega block weather pattern trapping hot Saharan air, which would not have happened if Americans weren't using AC so much. Yeah. If you think about it.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Okay. There's no way.
That's why sometimes when I'm driving down the road, I roll my windows down and turn the AC off in my truck.
Yeah. To help.
That's my thought, though. I'm like, I want to help.
Helping.
I want to help Europeans.
You're helping France.
France.
I think it could be a
particular.
Like, could be cooler next year because you did that. If you think about it.
Maybe
you're helping people.
Even if it was just 0.00001 degrees.
It's charity.
Cooler.
You should put that down on your taxes.
Next
Pain
year.
and suffering. Okay, so if you look at charts, it is just pretty crazy. So the cumulative CO2 emissions since 1750, according to Our World and Data. I'm not sure how they were tracking this. A bunch of this is going to be a fair estimation. The United States is, in fact, the highest on this chart. That's true. At let's just put it like 430 billion, something like that. European Union's actually the next one down, 300, and China's just below them. Okay. Now, if you look at these charts, this is pretty crazy. So China started having more CO2 emissions in 2006. Like since then, it's been China has been the number one emitter. Now, I don't know that that's who we've been hearing everyone on the left talk about literally since Charlie was still in high school was, China. It's this China thing that we got to stop this. They are now emitting like twice as much as we are every year. And in fact, they're going to catch up to us on the cumulative chart if you were to extend these numbers outward and assume that they're going to stay even at where they are right now and not keep going up, like the chart would suggest, another like 8 years or so, then China's been the number one emitter of CO2 in world history ever, you know? But it's still Americans' fault and something that we should do about it.
And pay a tax for.
And pay a tax. Well, you give the government money and they're going to solve the problem. Just listen to JD Vance.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good idea. I'm going to add into this what's going on in New York right now. Now, I'm not freaking out about what Mom Donnie said as much as everyone has been on X, people on the right. He says, New York, it's hot out there, and the power grid is working overtime to keep us cool. Set your AC to 78 degrees, turn off lights, electronics you're not using, and unplug what you can. Our city's doing this part 2, maintaining the 78-degree rule in our buildings, dimming, turning off our lights during peak electricity demand, asking private partners to do the same, and powering down non-essential equipment. That should be all of them. I think they should close all the government buildings.
Yeah.
Like if you actually care about people, close down government buildings. A stable grid means the AC stays on and lives are saved. Let's ease demand and get through the heat together. This is a pretty typical thing. It even happens like here in Tennessee. It happens. They're like, hey, power grid's kind of stressed right now. You know, if everyone kept their heat or AC at this temperature, there'd be less stress or like less of a chance of the whole thing going down, you know, and that would suck. And so that's why I'm not freaking out as much about that. You go through the posts online. It's like communism. Okay, well, you're asking everyone to collectively do something for the greater good. Sure. Hey,
at least that's better.
Yeah.
You can ask.
Asking, yes. Now, someday they're just going to call Google and say, hey, don't let anyone turn their air down below 78. It's going to happen. You think they're going to do it with all these smart thermostats, all the stuff going on? Of course it is. That's why I kept myself a hard, old school thermostat.
It's got the
I don't know
dial.
why it's hard like the other ones. Like
It's analog.
Like the other one's soft.
It's an analog.
It's an analog thermostat.
You got the dial?
And it's got the little lever that you push over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it can't be controlled.
I noticed you turned off a couple of the podcast lights in here.
Got to save, you know, trying to save electricity. This person says, I won't take lectures on energy conservation by the people who oppose nuclear energy and who shut down New York's Indian Point nuclear plant. More on that here in a second. Ryan Grimm, great on foreign policy, terrible on everything else, says it takes decades to build a nuclear power plant. The grid is strained right now. Stop being a selfish baby. I get it, but this is a great opportunity for us to mention that New York literally shut down the source of 25% of their power in order to please the environmentalist groups. And by pleasing the environmentalist groups, what I mean is they shut down a carbon-free nuclear power generating plant that provided 25% of their power carbon-free in order to please the environmentalist groups.
Who don't like nuclear.
Who don't like nuclear because what they actually care about is money going to wind and solar. And that's all they care about. That's their whole, like the Sierra Club, all these people, they oppose the actual ones that work and will take these trains because they actually just care about money going into wind and solar. That's what they really want. And so that's very frustrating to see. It's pretty crazy. You can look on the charts when they shut down the plant. This has all been made up by new fossil fuel power. And so the environmentalist groups actually have led to like more pollution by shutting down the nuclear power plant. It's pretty crazy. It's good to make fun of them, but this plant could have kept going it had been going for a while, and it was a pretty old plant, but these things can go for 60, 80 years. We've got records of them going if you like do proper upkeep, you know that them nuclear materials, they keep being nuclear for quite a long time, as long as you keep the rest of the plant in good shape, you can keep getting power off them. They'll keep heating up water. Remember, this is all just a way to heat up water.
Create that steam, baby.
That's all you got to do is just heat the water. All right, we're going to go to...
So they reduced their clean energy and ignited their carbon-producing energy.
Yeah.
But it's still not able to keep up.
It's not able to keep up. I don't know what that was on your phone over there.
It was a just-in-case alarm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right, number 5, Tim Burchett here in Tennessee. How about that? He says, this is what I voted for real Donald Trump. This is what I voted for Donald Trump. The size of the federal government today is about the same size as it was in 1966.
What?
That's what he said. He said that. He said those words, or he typed them out. He posted them online. And he kept it up there.
That's interesting.
So the size of the federal government today is about the same size as it was in 1966. There is only, there's a couple metrics you can use.
I like what you said at the end there.
Yeah. We've got the same amount of current presidents. We didn't pay attention to that one constitutional amendment that you brought up on Wednesday, where we'd have how many presidents would we have?
A council of like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Presidential council.
If you missed on Wednesday, we found out that there have apparently been 11,000 proposed constitutional amendments. Chuck found through his searches and then asked AI what the government would look like if we enacted all of them. Pretty fun. And I think we need to dive deeper into that.
We should do a whole exercise.
We're going to have to dive real deep into that. The other thing is the same number of employees. So Trump got rid of a bunch of federal employees. It's true. Fired a bunch. Surprise, next president's just going to hire all those positions right back. Okay, because the agencies are still there.
And by the way, to your point in the response here, that there's a bunch of federal contractors.
Yeah. We have way more people working for the government. They just shifted from employee to contractor. And so it's at least double the size, even on an employee basis. But then all the other metrics, like we're going to spend $7 trillion this year. As $1.3 trillion adjusted for inflation, technically. And 1966, spending GDP was closer. And that is a good metric to look at. It was 17% in 1966. It's 23% now. That is much bigger. We've got more departments. We've got way more agencies and way more pages in the Federal Register. So I don't know what the heck he's talking about at all. I don't know why you
at the very end you said this post is a dadgum lie.
I did.
Tim Burchett's all about. He's funny to listen to.
He's great on a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's fun. I feel like I like him as a guy. Like he's a guy that I would go to a bar and watch him drink beer while I had not beer at the same time.
Yeah.
And he'd probably be funny to listen to. He's the best of the not good ones.
They're all not good. But he's one of the better not good ones.
He's a better bad one for sure. Okay. Rapid fire as we get to a more complicated topic. This week, Congress passed something called the Kids Act. This is going to protect children, Charlie. Could you possibly be against this?
Of course not.
No. You want to protect children.
I have a child.
You have a child. Do you want him protected?
Or unprotected? Yeah, I want him protected.
Of course you want him protected. And so we got that through the House, so you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Now I can just let him go free.
He's protected. It's safe. It's safe.
Yeah.
So Mike Johnson said, for years, Congress has worked to find 21st century solutions to the real dangers that children and teens face online. And the bipartisan Kids Act offers a major remedy to these problems.
Interesting.
This legislation represents an important step forward in Congress's effort to have all of your information and know every single thing that you do online and control your speech anytime we want to and shut down anyone we want. Sorry, that's not what he said. Important step forward in Congress's effort to protect children online and hold big tech accountable while also empowering parents and protecting free speech. They are helping to protect free speech.
Through restriction.
Restrictions.
That's the way it works.
And ways that they can,
I got to tell you, I protect Parker, my kid.
Yeah.
From online.
Mm-hmm. From online.
Because I don't let him go on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's tyrannical parenting. That's what you're doing.
It's one way to protect your kids from the big bad online.
Yeah.
You don't let them go on there.
The worst thing here is going to be the age verification. They're going to have to find ways to prevent minors from accessing
can I correct myself?
stuff.
I do actually let him go online. He does play online on his Xbox.
Okay.
However, everything that you can do online besides play other people online has been blocked.
Okay.
So he can't message. He can't talk. He doesn't receive friend requests or audio requests.
Well, luckily the government helped you do that.
No, it's settings on your Xbox. I can make it to where.
Well, they made a law that you had to do that as a parent.
No.
Oh.
No, it's just something.
So why'd you do it then?
He does have a watch where he can call and text people, but I get to like set the contacts.
Okay.
In the watch.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't have your number in there. I don't want him calling Uncle Nate. That's dangerous.
I wouldn't answer anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But he's got a list of, contacts that he can call. He can't receive any calls.
Yeah.
That aren't in his contact list. So it like literally blocks everything else. It is the Gizmo watch, yes. I probably won't get him a phone for a while. He'll start asking for one, I'm sure, at 11, 12, 13. I don't know if that's appropriate.
It's probably not.
Yeah.
The actual answer is as long as, well, I mean, even this is more than what almost everyone has ever had throughout history, but as long as you're able to do like emergency contacts or something, then I mean.
That's why I got him a watch so he can go play in the neighborhood and, start to do things on his own. And if he ever needed anything or I needed to figure out where he was, it's got location on it, of course, things like that. So it's kind of more of a safety mechanism for me. But you're able to lock these things down anyway. Like the tech gives you the tools.
Well, they're made for that because parents are already looking for things like that. And so some evil company got together and said, why don't we make it where parents can get this for the kids? We're going to lock it down. That's going to open up a new revenue source for us. But at the same time, it's helping you out as a parent, helping Parker out as a kid, and, a little bit of money for the big guy up there,
For guys like Elon.
That's fine. The big danger of stuff like this, as we move on to the next, is, of course, how are they going to verify all this stuff? How are they going to make sure that they know who is who online and who is allowing minors and not allowing minors, whatever the situation is online? Of course, they're going to talk about it being protecting at first, and that's a difficult thing for people to. By the way, this has not gone through the Senate, has not been signed by Trump. Okay, probably should have said that at the beginning. I don't know if the Senate would pass it. Seems like Trump would sign it. It'd be fine. Couple it with the SAVE Act, and he'll do it for sure. Definitely do it then. Yeah, but it reminds me of the UK and moving to ban minors from accessing social media, and we're moving towards that here in the US if people keep allowing it to happen. It doesn't have to happen. All these things we talk about, we're moving that direction. It doesn't have to happen. You don't have to do it. These are actions taken by our malevolent dictators, not benevolent ones. They're not the benevolent Hamiltonians that JD Vance wants to rule us with or whatever. These are the people that are in government that are making these decisions. They're the people that the voters put in there for one reason or another, and they're moving us in that direction. And this is just a really good start. You set up this structure, set up some of these rules that the companies have to follow and make sure minors aren't exposed to this kind of thing or that kind of thing. And eventually, we got to make sure it's not a minor for sure. How are you going to do that? Well, right now you can use commercially available technology verification measures to identify minors. Eventually it's just going to be scan your ID. That's what you're going to do.
Minors don't have IDs.
Yeah. Eventually, you're going to, come on. You didn't have that. What's that thing called we got in grade school that had your ID? It's like if you're lost or whatever.
Student ID?
Do you remember what that's called? No. Someone in the group needs to tell us though. I can't remember what it's called now. It used to be, I wanted to get it because I thought it'd be so cool to have this ID. We couldn't afford it. So you know. Okay.
They didn't make the trailer special.
Yeah, I got a couple more. Let's move.
That's why I don't know what it is either.
Yeah. You just.
These weren't made for kids growing up in trailers. All right.
Here's someone asking Representative Troy Nehls asking about 60% of Americans struggling with affordability. And this is just, he needs a media team or something, I would say. Going to need to get some help on this. Here's what he had to say. That's pretty good stuff.
Congressman, real quick, how do House Republicans make the case that you're fighting for affordability when you go back to your districts?
Affordability? What are you talking about?
Well, affordability is the big...
I'm going to go there tomorrow. I'm going to, over the 4th. I'm going to get me a couple big lobster tails. I'm going to get me some nice ribeyes. I'm going to sit in my backyard with my family, my neighbors. And we're going to be enjoying the 4th, celebrating 250 years, the birthday. We're going to be celebrating the greatest president in my lifetime, Donald J. Trump. Maybe watch some fireworks. Won't be up here. It's going to be too hot, right? And I'm in bed at 11 o'clock. I heard the fireworks ain't going off till 11 o'clock Eastern on the 4th of July. I probably...
Just so far, this is such a great representation of like why, if the founders came back, they would probably hang most of the people that are elected in government right now. And I don't know if I can say that on a video.
This guy's completely detached.
It's just my guess.
From reality.
Like starting off with affordability, what are you talking about? I'm going to go back home and have some lobster tails, some ribeyes. You work for the government. Your money comes from my money, forcefully. There's no choice, you know? This is crazy. And be talking about the 4th of July and celebrating 250 years.
We'll talk about affordability after the birthday. You got to splurge for birthdays, Nate. Come on.
Here's a little more.
I have to sleep through that one. But listen, everybody understands you're going to see a little increase in energy prices because of Iran. I mean, come on. People aren't stupid. You realize that when you have a conflict Iran. But I think in the end, this short-term increase in some of the costs of energy, you know, gasoline and stuff, is temporary. But President Trump has made it very clear to these companies, don't be gouging, no price gouging. I mean, energy, what? Oil was at $69 the other day, 72 today. I mean, the price has got to come down. Don't take advantage of the American people. To me, it's almost criminal.
You think 60% of Americans?
So we got to do that. We have to do that. And I think that the overall goal and objective is to make sure Iran never has a nuclear weapon.
Now all the affordability, obviously because of Iran. By the way, people were worried about affordability before the Iran war happened, before any of that stuff happened. Like, it was a thing during the election. They were worried about affordability. And really what we've done is we've thrown a bunch more stuff on top of that, you know, making things less affordable on top of what it already wasn't affordable. And he goes into the price gouging thing.
Like it was affordable before the war.
Yeah. Before the war, everything's great, you know? Well, gas was cheaper. That's for sure. So that was a good thing. All right, we're long on time right now. Whoever this guy is, GOP Representative Troy Nehls, that is one of the worst pre-4th of July messages I've ever heard in my whole life. But it is a perfect representation of everything that's wrong with America.
He needs a PR guy standing next to him being like, dude, you can't answer questions alone.
Like, what do you mean with affordability? I am about to have lobster tails and ribeye when I go back home to my district.
Yeah, everything's fine.
What are you talking about? I'm doing just fine. Why are you worried about me affording things? That's crazy. And we're going to celebrate the birthday and the greatest president of my lifetime, Donald Trump. It's actually just a perfect little video about why everything is what it is right now. Okay, let me get to this. Just the last one, just real quick to make fun of. Okay. This is an AI photo. Honestly, at first I thought this was real because he has no limits to the gaudy gold stuff he'll put up on the White House, okay? But this is a picture that Donald Trump posted. A golden gift to the White House for its 250th birthday year. It is an eagle with outstretched wings, looking over to the side, and some stars going around. And I think that means he's Hitler. right? That's what everyone has decided. It's gold also, just in case you're wondering. It's got to be gold, but it's an AI photo. First one here from Ed Krasenstein says, Republicans, stop calling him Hitler. Trump, check out my golden eagle. On the left, Hitler's Nazi eagle. On the right, Trump's golden eagle. It is true that those are both eagles.
They both look like representations of a large bird.
A bird
depicts what an eagle would look like.
They are similar in color. They are different eagles, by the way.
Yeah, they're looking different directions.
They're looking in different directions, and they're actually different kinds of eagles. One's a bald eagle, one's a gold. You see these beaks. See that beak right there and that head. You can actually tell that these are different things, and you can tell this is AI because honestly, when I was going through new logos a few weeks ago, this is like the exact eagle that ChatGPT made for one of the new logos I was working on. That's just ChatGPT's default eagle setting somewhere in a data center out in Virginia. That's where that's coming from.
The symbols look different. On one looks like a swastika. The other one kind of looks like the American flag.
Yeah.
So those look a little bit different to me.
It's also, so America has been using eagles for way before Nazi Germany ever even existed. It's sort of been our bird and our thing for a long time.
The bald eagle specifically?
Yeah. Like bald eagles, very specifically been using eagles. Presidential seal, it's on our golden money. It's all over the place. Okay, everywhere using eagles. I get Hitler did a thing a long time ago. It's not the exact same thing. Hitler's had like little flat, straight, outstretched wings. A little different. This is a funny one though. Oh, I did bring up the different eagles. So bald eagles, way better. Okay, way better
looks
stuff.
So much cooler.
Way better eagle. This person says you can't make this stuff up. This can't be a coincidence anymore. And you'll notice this person is from Finland. So that's interesting because it is a fact that Finland just a fact check on the post I'm showing on the screen right now. This person said, you're mad about a gold emblem of our national bird while your country's Air Force uses swastikas today. That person is lying. They got rid of this in 2020. Okay? They've been without it for a long time. All right? So just to clarify, Finland's Air Force quietly dropped the swastika symbol in July of 2020.
Replaced it with an eagle.
And they replaced it with an eagle. That's pretty good.
Oh, my God.
I didn't even notice that part.
Or some sort of bird. I mean, yeah.
Honestly, I think that's one of them. They're golden eagles. I'm pretty sure.
In 2020, they were like, I think we're too forward about this Nazi thing. We need to be a little more subtle.
Well, it's just okay.
What can we do? Oh, eagle.
These symbols. Listen. I'm not going to start throwing swastikas around, but these symbols have other meanings. They've been used for a long time. They didn't start with Germany. They didn't start with Hitler. Some of them might have, but not all these things. And eagles have existed since before Hitler. And the swastika existed before. And so even if it doesn't mean that Finland was a bunch of Nazis up until 2020, they could just say, we like this symbol. We've been using it for a long time. Or it's like, we just sort of kept it even though Germany lost the war and we were, allies with them after they took us over or whatever. But
this is crazy. How's no one pointed this out?
It's pretty crazy that I didn't believe it at first. I had to go look it up in a couple different places.
This is true.
Like we've talked about so many swastikas and the eagles and the stuff like that, and there's a whole military still using swastikas
as their flag
in 2020, and we weren't talking about that.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy stuff, man. Pretty crazy stuff.